What's up, geeks and gamers? Mike and I are back once again with another movie review, and today we're going to be talking about Candyman. Say his name, or don't say
CANDYMAN.
his name. Maybe that's the whole thing, we'll find out. So, Mike, right off the bat, we're just gonna jump right into it. No holds barred at all, and we're gonna just give it right over to you. What did
Yeah,
you think about Candyman?
Candyman. Well, I've said it now 3 times, so if I say it
Yikes!
2 more times, I
Yikes!
die in this at the end of this review. It is an interesting movie for sure.
Uh-huh.
I can tell why they really put Jordan Peele's name on this because they're really wanting to draw people in, like to that kind of people that were fans of Us, I think it was,
Yep.
and then Get Out. But it is not those movies, and it doesn't really have Jordan, like, it has his fingerprints on it because he produced it, but that's where it about stops at fingerprints.
It's like
I
what
don't
they do
know.
with a lot of these big producers, where they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I don't know, J.J. Abrams was involved with this or something else," and then it's
Yeah.
just like, okay,
There's like this, they didn't direct this, so
yeah,
what?
exactly, yeah,
Um I will say this for anybody that has seen the first Candyman and the subsequent, I think there was 3 other movies after that. I think there's been 4. This is not a reboot. This is not even a soft reboot. This is a direct sequel to the previous movies. They reference the at least I know for sure they reference the first movie. I have not seen the other sequels to Candyman, but I've seen the first Candyman. They absolutely they rely on you having at least a somewhat workable knowledge of the previous movies. If you haven't, I think you could still like piece together what's going on, but you're not going to like it as much. It's not going to have as much meaning to you. They do rely a little bit on nostalgia, but overall, I don't know, man. I dug the first 3 quarters of this movie, but the ending really, I don't know, kind of shat the bed for me. I kind of feel like the ending fumbled so badly at the end that it undercut the rest of the movie.
interesting.
Yeah, that's my thought on it. I kind of wanted I was intrigued, and then I was interested, and then I was kind of getting a little drawn into it. I'm like, okay, where are they going to go with this? And then when you see where they're going with it, you go, oh, that's what you're doing. Okay,
Yeah,
because I kind of thought you were gonna try to do something unique with this, and instead you kind of play to the lowest common denominator for like the message.
yeah,
Like that's the thing. Like it's like watching, like it'd be like watching like a well-made like Christian movie, and you're like, wow, this movie is kind of interesting and not what I was expecting, blah blah blah. And then the last like 10 minutes of the movie is literally a sermon telling you exactly what you're supposed to think and
yeah.
feel, and this is why we made this movie. And you're like, oh, cool. So that feels less like art now and kind of feels more like I got tricked into listening
Mhm.
to your message. Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, I agree that, the message, whatever you want to call it, was like better constructed in the beginning of the film, but I could definitely see where they were going with it, and I knew that they were going to be continuing to push it in that direction of where the movie ended up. Basically, the movie, ends up being, I don't know what you want to call it, like a I don't know. I mean, it's a racial message at the end in a lot of ways, but it's also like
Yeah.
a, all cops are bad type of thing going on too. It's really
Yeah.
weird
Yeah.
because, like, yeah, I don't want to like spoil the movie or anything for people who want to see it, but basically that's kind of what the messaging of the movie is, and they kind of like set that up kind of in the beginning of the movie by this thing that the the brother of the main chick, what he was saying, and the kind of the little story that he was telling about. I think that story he was telling was like from the first Candyman movie, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So then they kind of like talk about like gentrification and things like that, which, obviously those are issues that are real issues and stuff, but they kind of like made it kind of like more of like a, I don't know. I had a problem with it because to me they made it more of like a white supremacy type of issue instead of like not really getting to like the real issue of the day, which is like government power and things like that.
Yeah.
And so to me they kind of missed the ball on a lot of that type of stuff, which makes sense.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This movie was kind of all over the place too in a lot of
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah.
Like,
There's a lot of weird dangling plot threads that don't seem to
yeah,
make sense. That you also are hoping are going to like lead into the ending and like all tie together, and they don't. They just kind of are like, oh, this is the thing that happened, by the
Yeah.
way, and this is the thing that happens, and also there's this thing here, and you're like, okay, how does it tie in? And they're like,
Yeah.
it kind of doesn't.
Yeah, I mean the movie like set up a lot of interesting like questions and ideas and seemed
Yeah.
to really have like a good thing going with the way it was like building the suspense of the movie and stuff. But
Yeah.
then it just doesn't really go anywhere in a lot of ways. And
Yeah.
it's really weird. Like one of the things in this movie is that like, and you can see this like from the trailers and stuff too, but there's like there's something that happens like with his hand and stuff. And throughout the movie, like you see what's happening to his hand,
Yeah.
but literally no one ever acknowledges it. He doesn't go to the doctor until like way, way, way later in the movie. And it's just really weird because it's like nobody gives it a bats an eye at it. And so I was like, is this like just in his head? Like, what are they trying to do with this? Because it's weird because literally like his hand looks like it's going to like rot off or something. And nobody's doing anything. Nobody's like talking about it. Like he's just walking around with his arm being weird. And it like I was like, okay, so is this just in his head? What's going on here? What are they trying to say? And then no, his arms literally like that. And apparently no one decided to talk about it at all.
Nobody does anything about it. Yeah. No, which is the weird part about it, because there's like at times it feels like this movie is trying to use a lot of metaphor and allegory, and like the opening of the movie, like the title sequences, all the titles are backwards because like there's a lot of stuff with mirrors, and if you watch the original Candyman, that's how you summon him, is you say his name 5 times in a mirror and then he kills you in like your reflection and stuff. So that was like the kind of the concept, but then I don't know, you're expecting like an inverse, or you're expecting some things to not be what they actually are, and then the movie kind of just goes, nah, it kind of all is what you expected it to be, with like minor twists and turns, maybe a little bit, but not enough. The other thing too is about breaking down a concept or an idea. If you're going to present like an idea and then like flip it on its head or change it, you can't. I don't know. The best way to do that is to like lead the audience along. But a lot of times what this movie does is it pauses to explain to you a theme or a concept, or they introduce an idea after the fact that you're supposed to just accept, like, oh, the main character's girlfriend has some trauma in her past that happens to kind of tie in to what's happening in the movie, but you don't find that out until about halfway through the movie. And that would have been really relevant to the beginning of the movie. But it doesn't matter. Like they're like, oh, well, this thing also happened, so that affects how she's seeing things happening now. Which it's like, okay, but that's not a good way to unravel something. You don't keep throwing new information at the audience and going, "Are you getting the themes? Are you getting the idea?"
Yeah.
And that's what this movie does a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. And then like they do set up like an interesting concept with a character early on, and then later that character shows up again, and then they also throw like another piece of that character's backstory at you at like the very end of the movie, but it doesn't make any sense. You're kind of like, okay, so what am I supposed to walk away with from that? And they're like stuff and things. So and then the movie kind of wraps up like this. Like it feels like somebody like looked at the cast and went,
exactly.
And they're like, all right, let's just blow through the ending of this, you know?
Yeah.
And then kind of tries to turn into like a revenge horror thing, which doesn't really work either, especially if you watch the original Candyman. It definitely doesn't work because it kind of ignores the previous themes of the movie to do this thing. I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, like I felt like that they were really trying to be smart with this movie in a lot of ways, but it just didn't have the right execution with some of the things that they were trying to do with it. I thought it was also weird how like, you know, you have like these black people who are like the main cast of the movie, but they weren't like from the hood, and it just kind of seemed like it just seemed really like to suffer a little bit from that, because they were like, you know, pretty uppity, well-to-do in life, it seemed, but they didn't really seem to relate to like what the main themes of the movie were at all. You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Like
well, they even they try to address that, but then they never really go anywhere with it. Absolutely.
I mean, it's just another thing where it's just kind of like a leading question in a way, sort of, that just never gets fulfilled at all. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's a weird thing I've noticed with movies recently. Like when we went and saw Reminiscence, and then even with The Protege, it feels like people don't know how to write endings anymore. Like it
Yeah.
feels like you'll have these heady concepts, and then the ending it's just not very good, and so it kind of like undercuts the rest of the movie. And I'm
Yeah.
like, honestly, if you can, like, if the middle is messy but the beginning is good and the ending is good, a lot of people will accept the movie as overall good. But
Yeah.
instead, what they're doing is it feels like they don't know what else to do, so they'll
Yeah.
either do something shocking, they're like, oh, see our ending, or they'll do something kind of like that undercuts the previous like ideas and themes of a movie, and that's really kind of frustrating because then it makes the movie feel like it didn't go anywhere. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to walk away with any kind of idea. I'm supposed to just be told what the movie's theme was, and then hopefully be happy enough with that. You know?
Exactly. I mean, it's kind of becoming an issue with Hollywood more and more, where it's all about the message and not
Yeah,
about the story.
yeah,
And it's just, I think that is making these movies suffer. I think that this movie completely suffers from that in a lot of ways.
yeah,
And I mean, obviously that's what we're going to continue to see more and more of, unfortunately.
yeah.
And we're just going to continue to get stories that suffer because of that.
Absolutely. I do
So
want to say, just throw this out there, just not the movie. It's not a total trash fire. The cinematography is actually pretty solid, and the
yeah,
music is really good. Actually, like
yeah,
both
the
of those
music is
things
really
work.
good. Yep.
And there was opportunities to be scary that don't really go where they need to.
Yeah.
Overall, if somebody was to ask me, like, it might be worth going to see in theaters if you don't have anything else going on, or if you want to just see what it's like or see what it's about, or if you're a fan of the previous movies, go see it. Otherwise, I'd give this like a C minus and say, I don't even know that's worth. I don't know.
Yeah.
It might be worth your time if you really, really, really want to see it or are a fan of Candyman movies.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a D.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't find it to be much of a horror film either. Like, I didn't really like, the suspense was way better in the beginning of the movie, but then as the
Yes.
movie continues to progress, you lose a lot of that.
Yep.
So to me, like, by the end of the movie, it didn't even seem like a horror movie at all.
Yep.
It just felt like a messagey, like you said, revenge type of movie, and was just really weird. So yeah, I honestly, I'm a very mixed bag on this movie, but overall, I definitely didn't enjoy as much as I was hoping I would. So
Yep. Same.
yeah.
Same.
So that is going to be our review for Candyman. Let us know what you think in the comments below if you've seen the movie, and we hope that you enjoyed this review, and we will catch you in the next review next week probably. So talk to you guys later. Bye.